He told me he stayed home that night. But our bank statement said otherwise. $85 at a rooftop bar he swore he'd never been to. And that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was realizing the man I'd built a life with had been pouring his soul out to another woman. Not me, not his wife. And when I confronted him, he said, "She just listens to me more than you do." That broke me. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood there, frozen. Because in that moment, I knew I'd already lost him. I didn't notice it all at once. It started in the quietest ways. David, my husband of 7 years, stopped asking how my day went. He used to ask every night over dinner, half listening, sure, but still asking. Then suddenly, nothing. Silence. At first, I thought maybe he was tired. His job in IT can be draining, and I wasn't exactly my best either. Juggling campaign deadlines at the agency and making sure Oliver got to preschool on time had me running on fumes. We weren't broken, just busy. That's what I kept telling myself. But then the little things started piling up. He stopped kissing me goodbye in the mornings. He started taking walks after dinner, sometimes short, sometimes long. No explanation, just needed air. And then there was his phone. He used to leave it charging in the kitchen at night. Now, it never left his side, not even when he showered. I caught him once, tilting it away from me while he texted. I said nothing, just smiled. Pretended I didn't notice. But I noticed. I noticed everything. We used to have this easy rhythm: dinner by 6, Oliver's bath time by 7:30, some Netflix or reading before bed. Lately, David would retreat into the garage or bury himself in work. And when I'd ask if something was bothering him, he'd give me that tired half smile and say, "You're overthinking again, Rach." Maybe I was. Or maybe I was finally seeing clearly. One Thursday night, I walked into the living room and found him staring at the wall, not scrolling, not working, just staring. I asked if he was okay. He blinked twice, said, "Yeah, just thinking." About what? Nothing, work stuff. Always work. That weekend, we had Megan, my best friend since college, over for brunch. She brought banana bread and her toddler, Zoe. The kids played in the backyard while we caught up over coffee. Megan leaned in at one point and asked, "Is David okay?" I paused. Why? He just seems off, like distant, even with Oliver. I shrugged it off, laughed too quickly. Yeah. He's been swamped lately. Megan gave me that look. The one she gives when she doesn't believe me but doesn't want to press. But that stuck with me, because if she noticed, maybe I wasn't crazy after all. That night, I sat alone in our bedroom, scrolling through old pictures, family vacations, Christmas mornings, messy hair and pancake breakfasts. We looked happy. And maybe we were. But looking back now, I wonder, was I the only one still holding on? Because something had shifted in David. And the silence between us, it wasn't just quiet, it was distance. And I was finally scared enough to admit it. The first real crack happened on a Friday night. I was supposed to meet Megan and a few friends at our usual cafe. We hadn't done a girls' night in months, so I was actually looking forward to it. Around 5 p.m., I told David I'd be heading out around 7 and that he could order pizza for himself and Oliver. He barely looked up from his laptop. "Cool," he mumbled. At 9:30, Megan texted. "Hey, just checking if we're still on for tonight?" I texted back, "Yup, leaving in 30, May." Then, a minute later, she called. Her voice sounded hesitant. "Rachel, David called me earlier. Said you weren't feeling well and wouldn't make it." I froze. "What? I never said that. I told him I was going." She went silent for a beat. "That's weird. You sure you're okay?" I stared at the living room, where David was now playing with Oliver, as if nothing had happened. "Yeah," I said quietly. "Thanks, Meg. I'll call you later." I didn't go out that night. I waited until Oliver was in bed, then walked into the kitchen, my heart pounding like I'd caught a thief in my own home. "Did you tell Megan I wasn't going tonight?" David looked genuinely confused for a second. Then, and this was the moment I knew something was wrong, he smiled, too casually. "Oh, yeah, I thought you were tired, so I figured I'd save you the trouble." "You figured you'd lie for me?" He shrugged. I didn't think it mattered. Didn't matter. I walked past him without another word. Locked myself in the bathroom and stared at my reflection. My hands were shaking. I wasn't mad. Not yet. I was scared. Because something inside me whispered, he's hiding something. The next morning, I made pancakes for Oliver like nothing had happened. David acted normal, kissed Oliver's forehead, told me thanks for breakfast, and left for an early gym session. I opened my laptop. We had a shared bank account for groceries and utilities, but I noticed a transaction from the night before at a rooftop bar downtown, $85. The same night I was supposedly too tired to go out. I sat there, staring at the charge. He hadn't mentioned going out. He hadn't said a word about dinner. Just vanished into the garage after Oliver's bedtime and then to the gym this morning. I screenshotted the statement. Then I opened our phone bill. I don't even know why. Maybe I wanted to be wrong. But there it was, dozens of texts to a number I didn't recognize, mostly at night, repeatedly, relentlessly. I copied the number and searched my inbox. And then I saw her name, Amanda Liu. She was the woman he once mentioned from work, a marketing analyst, kind of new, smart girl, just friendly. Just friendly. I sat back in my chair, numb. This wasn't in my head. This wasn't stress or burnout. This was betrayal. Whispering its way into my life one text at a time. That night I couldn't sleep. I laid there beside David, his back turned to me, breathing steady like nothing had changed. Meanwhile, my chest felt like it was caving in, breath shallow, heart racing. By morning, I made up my mind. I wasn't going to scream, I wasn't going to accuse. I wanted the truth, or at least his version of it. After Oliver left for his Saturday art class with Megan, I walked into the kitchen where David was sipping coffee, calm, like it was just another weekend. "Hey," I said quietly. "Can we talk?" He looked up, mildly startled. "Sure." I sat across from him, folded my hands. "Last night, you told me I wasn't going out. That you told Megan I was sick. Why?" He blinked. "I told you, you looked tired. I thought you'd want an excuse." I nodded slowly. "Then why were you at a rooftop bar?" "The card statement says 8:47 p.m. $85. His eyes widened just slightly. The kind of flicker someone might miss. But I didn't. He set his cup down. "I needed some air. I didn't plan to go out. I just drove around, ended up grabbing food." "Alone?" He paused. Then, yeah. I reached for my phone and opened the screen. "You've been texting Amanda Liu late, often." I checked. His jaw clenched. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. The silence between us said everything. "Are you having an affair?" I asked softly. He didn't answer right away. And that hurt more than I was ready for. When he finally spoke, it wasn't a denial. "It's not what you think." "Then tell me exactly what it is." He leaned back, rubbing his temples. "We just talk. That's all." She listens. "It's never gotten physical, Rachel." "I swear to God." My voice cracked. "You lied to me. You snuck around. You confided in another woman instead of your wife. And you're telling me it's not an affair because you didn't sleep with her?" He looked at me, ashamed. She made me feel seen. I felt invisible for months. My hands were trembling under the table. "I work. I cook. I raise our son. And I still ask about your day. David. You're the one who turned away." "I didn't mean for it to happen," he whispered. Tears welled up, but I didn't let them fall. "So what now?" I asked. "I'll stop. I'll cut it off. I just didn't know how to tell you." I stood up, trying to steady my breath. "You already told me everything with your silence. Bye." Then I walked into the bathroom and locked the door. And for the first time in years, I cried without trying to hide it. We started marriage counseling the following week. David found the therapist, booked the session, drove us both there. If I'm honest, a part of me wanted to skip it entirely. Another part, the tired, hopeful part, needed to at least try. The therapist was kind, neutral. She listened as we explained what brought us in. David admitted to the emotional affair. I admitted to the anger that scared me, not screaming rage, but that cold, exhausted kind that creeps in when someone chips away at your trust little by little. I want to fix this, he said. I know I messed up and I'm sorry. I've already stopped talking to her. I'm out. I looked at him then, and for a brief moment, I saw the man I married. After the session, we went home in silence. No radio, no small talk, just heavy air between us. That night, he made dinner. He even tucked Oliver in, reading him 2 bedtime stories instead of 1. He was trying. I could see it. So why couldn't I feel it? 2 days later, I opened our shared laptop. It wasn't intentional. I needed to print a work file. But when I typed A into the browser, autocomplete showed me something I wasn't ready for. Amanda L. Gmail thread. I froze. My heart dropped so fast I felt dizzy. I clicked. It was an old email chain, dated over a month ago. It started innocently enough, something about a work presentation, then jokes, then inside references I didn't understand. Then, ugh, if only I could tell you how often I wish our conversations didn't have to end when we leave the office. Same here. Don't tempt me to or. My fingers went cold on the trackpad. Don't tempt me? I heard my own breath, shallow and quick. He told me it was just talking, that it wasn't personal, that it wasn't flirty. This wasn't some meme-sharing group chat. This was emotional cheating dressed up in inside jokes and late-night emails. I didn't say anything that night. I couldn't. Instead, I walked into the living room where he was folding laundry and said, I need a break. I'm going for a drive. He nodded, eyes tired, assuming it was just stress. I drove to the lake and sat in my car, watching the water glisten under the streetlights. I felt everything and nothing. Sadness, betrayal, anger, and underneath it all, loneliness. The loneliest part? Realizing I wasn't even surprised anymore. I gave myself 3 days. 3 days to feel, to think, to not react. I still made breakfast for Oliver. Still answered work emails. Still smiled when the neighbors waved. But inside, I was unraveling. Every time David touched my shoulder, I flinched. Every "how are you" felt like a performance review I hadn't studied for. And every time I saw his phone face down on the table, my stomach twisted. So, on the 3rd night, after Oliver went to bed and David settled into the couch, I sat across from him and said, I'm moving out. He blinked. What? I need space, real space. Not emotional band-aids or therapy worksheets. I need air. He looked stunned. I thought we were trying. You said you wanted to fix this. I did. I do. But you lied again. His face dropped. What do you mean? I saw the emails. Amanda. You told me it wasn't flirty, but I read, don't tempt me. He exhaled. Closed his eyes. Didn't even try to deny it. I was weak, he whispered. I didn't know how to stop. I nodded. And I don't know how to keep pretending. His eyes filled, but I kept mine dry. I had already cried for this marriage. Now I needed to move. I told him I'd found a 2-bedroom apartment not far from the house. That Oliver would stay here in his room, with his routine. And that I'd see him every day. David didn't fight me. He just sat there, defeated. I never wanted to lose you, he said. I don't think you ever realized you already had. I packed that weekend. Quietly. Megan helped. She didn't say much, just carried boxes and offered tissues I didn't use. When I hugged Oliver goodbye that first night, he asked, Mommy, why are you taking your books? I crouched down, kissed his forehead. Just borrowing them. I'll still see you tomorrow, okay? He smiled and nodded. And just like that, I walked out. The apartment was small, clean, quiet, too quiet. That first night, I sat on the floor surrounded by boxes and held a letter David had slipped into one of them. Handwritten. Apologizing, remembering the first time we met. Begging for another chance. Someday. I read every word. Then folded it, placed it in the drawer next to my bed. Not to forget. But because sometimes, you need to stop rereading someone else's story to finally start writing your own. The first morning in my new apartment, I didn't set an alarm. No tiny footsteps outside my door. No clanging of cereal bowls, just stillness. I woke up feeling disoriented, like I'd overslept for a life I wasn't part of anymore. I sat on the edge of my bed for a long time, staring at the sunlight on the floorboards. This was mine now. I made coffee, stood by the window, and watched the city slowly come to life. It felt unfamiliar, but also oddly peaceful. No tension, no walking on eggshells. No wondering if a text notification would send my chest into knots. Just silence. That week, I went to work like usual, smiled at my coworkers. Took on an extra campaign, partly to keep busy, partly because I needed to feel capable again. Megan checked in constantly. She offered wine, venting sessions, and to babysit whenever I needed space. I declined most of it. Not because I didn't appreciate it, but because I didn't even know what I needed yet. David and I kept things civil. We texted about Oliver's school pickups, dentist appointments, and who was taking him to the zoo on Saturday. No fights, no begging, no "I miss you" texts. It felt surreal, like we had quietly agreed to pretend the last 7 years had been folded into a drawer we'd only open when necessary. One evening, I picked Oliver up after work. He ran into my arms with that reckless little boy joy that always breaks me open. "Mommy, look, I drew you," he said, handing me a crayon sketch of us holding hands under a giant sun. In the corner, there was a little house, and another one next to it. "Is this our house?" I asked gently. He nodded. "That's Daddy's house, and that's yours. But we still have the same sun." I smiled so hard it hurt. "That's beautiful, baby." When I dropped him back off, David stood at the door, looking more tired than usual. He reached out, almost on instinct, to help unbuckle Oliver's seatbelt, then pulled back. "Thanks for keeping his routine steady," he said. "He's our priority, always," I replied. He nodded. "You look stronger." I didn't respond, just looked him in the eye and said, "I am." Back in my apartment that night, I sat with Oliver's drawing on my lap. 2 houses, same sun. Maybe this wasn't the life I planned. But maybe, just maybe, it was the beginning of one I could finally build for myself. It's been 2 months since I moved out. People keep asking if I'm okay, like it's a binary switch. Like healing is a destination, not a winding road with detours, potholes, and occasional U-turns. The truth? Some days I wake up and feel light again. Like I'm finally breathing air that isn't filtered through disappointment. Other days I see a couple holding hands in the grocery store and feel a dull ache, remembering what used to be mine. David and I still talk about Oliver, mostly. He hasn't brought up reconciliation again. Maybe he knows I'm not ready. Maybe he knows I might never be. He's been respectful, softer, and in some weird, painful way, kinder now than he ever was during our marriage. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's growth. I don't know. We haven't said the word divorce out loud. But we haven't said us in a long time either. The therapist suggested we both try individual counseling, so I did. It's helped. Not in the fix everything kind of way, but in the I don't feel crazy anymore kind of way. I've started journaling again. I go on evening walks by the river. I even signed up for a pottery class Megan swore I'd hate, but I actually like it. There's something healing about making something with your hands when the rest of your life feels like it's slipping through your fingers. Oliver's doing okay. He's resilient in a way that only kids can be. He still asks questions sometimes. "Are you and Daddy mad?" Or, "Will we all live together again?" I never lie, but I keep it simple. "We both love you so much, that's what matters most." And it is. Will David and I ever find our way back? Honestly, I don't know. Maybe we'll rediscover each other in some new version of ourselves, years down the line. Or maybe we were only meant to grow together for a season and that season is over. What I do know is this. I gave my heart. I stayed loyal. I showed up even when things got hard. And when it was time to walk away, I did that with my head high. That's not failure. That's self-respect. That's love turned inward. And if someday I love again, it'll be from a place of knowing that I didn't settle, shrink, or stay silent. I chose me. Finally. I never imagined I'd be the one packing my life into boxes, just to protect my peace. But sometimes, choosing yourself doesn't look like victory. It looks like quiet. Like walking away instead of staying to prove a point. Like picking up your child from school with a smile, even when your heart is heavy. I don't know what the future holds for me and David. I don't know if time can rebuild trust or just make the silence between us easier to live with. But I do know this. I loved fully. I stayed when it was hard. And when staying meant losing myself, I chose to leave. That isn't giving up. That's surviving with grace. And if you've ever stood at that same crossroads between staying and saving yourself, then maybe you understand. Am I wrong for walking away when he swore it was just emotional? What would you have done if you found those emails? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if this story moved you in any way, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear it. You're not alone, and you deserve better.